This could very well be the most realistic hardcore mechanic simulator that I have ever seen. There are so many good bits to this game that the bits I think could be a bit better or that are possibly missing really don't matter all that much. If you are a fan of mechanics or engineering games, you love buses or just really appreciate hardcore realistic sims, then Bus Mechanic Simulator should be on your wish list. And the really, really good news is that I have one key to give away. Bus Mechanic Simulator lacks the depth that I would really like to see in a mechanic simulator. Rather than being the owner of a bus mechanic company, you actually just fill the role of employee. You don't have to worry about the cost of parts, the electrical bill, the employee wages, or anything like that. You simply turn up for work, accept the orders, complete the tasks on the list, fill out the paperwork, and then send them back out of the door. But you had better be paying attention because there is very little hand-holding in this game. If you make a mistake, then it's coming out of your wages. Well, you don't have any wages, but it comes out of your XP points anyway. Bus Mechanic Simulator is damn near photorealistic. It does have that Aerosoft look about it, and I think you know what I mean by that. And in the first couple of minutes there is some sort of visual adjusting that needs to occur by you. And as there's no VSync, the game does initially suffer with some tear and some blur issues. But I've got to say that after the first minute where I did experience some issues, I didn't really experience any further problems with stutters, and the tearing kind of went away, or at least I got used to it. The bus modelling in this game is of a very high standard, with great emphasis on the engine and the internal, many internal components, each of which is fully 3D modelled. And everything just looks really authentic, especially the parts storage area, which I absolutely loved. Most of the tools are not visible, sadly, but some aspects are. The tyre gauge, the jacks, which you actually get to push into position, and then you have to pull a lever in order to activate them. And the garage environment itself, they're all really good and really very realistic. The buses actually can drive in and out at the beginning and end of each job, but after a while I turned it off in the settings because actually it's very samey and not all that realistic. You can get on and walk around each of the buses freely. The double-decker has some issues with the back stairs, but they do actually work if you just shut the door and only go up. For some reason, you can't go back down. I'm sure that's a bug that they'll address eventually. Now, whilst physics are not really a thing in this game, you can say that when the jack lifts the axle up, the tyres do drop down and behave as you would expect them to. But that's not really physics. So instead, I'm going to talk about realism, and that is where Bus Mechanic Simulator really scores highly with me. This is damn near real-life simulation. There are some aspects of the game, like when changing tyres, you'll also need to set each tyre to exactly the right tyre pressure. Now that isn't mentioned in the tutorial, or in the game in any way makes that apparent to you. Now that's not mentioned in the tutorial or the game in any way. It doesn't make it apparent to you that that's what needs to happen. You will just fail some jobs and then have to think about it logically and figure out why you failed last time. Eventually it will sink in and you'll go, oh, there's an extra wheel at the back, or I constantly forgot to fill the tyres up with pressure when I swapped them out for new ones. So you really do need to be paying attention. Having said that, there are some areas of the game where I would have liked to have seen a bit more hardcore sim applied. Actually seeing the tools selected in your hands would be great. They do actually do it when you're using the tyre pressure gauge, so I'm not sure why all the tools don't sort of show up. Maybe that's something that's coming later, I don't know for sure. And when you send a bus out, when you've forgotten to tighten all of the bolts properly on the wheel, for example, the game will say to you that you need to put all the parts of the bus back together before allowing you to complete the job and sending it out. It's a bit of a shame that it doesn't just chastise you for making such a huge mistake. But overall, the feeling that you get here is exactly like working in a real garage, and I have worked in a garage, so I can tell you from personal experience, this feels very authentic. The only thing that's missing really is that you're on your own, and it's a little bit too quiet in that regard. So whilst I'd say the audio in-game is acceptable, I wouldn't go so far as to say it was particularly good. There is a lot of constant sort of background noise, but it isn't really what you would expect to hear in a real-life garage. I think it would be amazing if you actually had NPCs working on other buses at the same time as you, perhaps even adding some banter and the noise of the other people working, etc. That, I think, would do a lot to add to the immersion. Even if there were no NPCs, just adding that extra audio buffer, I think, would do a lot. There is a radio in the game, and whilst the theme music I think is actually really very cool, I don't think it actually plays on the radio, which is a bit of a shame. But what is a nice touch is the cheesy yet likeable radio DJ. I actually found it very authentic and helpful in order to get through the workday or each of the difficult jobs. I put the game into 7.1 surround as my headphones support that, and as so often happens with 7.1 surround in games like this, my character's footsteps sounded like there was somebody following behind me, so I don't think it works as well as they think it does. And there also appeared to be an audio bug with the jack on ramp number 3. When you lift it up at the back, it just continuously sounds like it's lifting the bus up. But overall, the equipment sounds and the bus audio, yeah, it's all pretty good. Not bad at all. I do have a fantastic suggestion regarding audio in this game, but I'll leave that until the end section. So the game is super realistic and really quite hardcore. But is it immersive? Well, yes it is, but not as much as it could be. The problem with games like this, where you have absolutely no say or control over anything that happens within the business, is that it becomes just a job. Now, as far as actually working on the buses themselves, it does score extremely highly for me on immersion. But once a job is finished and the next one comes in, you're kind of feeling it's getting a little bit samey. Having to order in stock, pay the bills, just adds a little something extra to games like this, and it breaks up the monotony and actually makes you care a lot more about the business and its success. But the fact that every single element of the bus is modelled and interactive is exceptionally immersive. You even have to check and resupply the first aid and emergency hammers on the bus, and I've never seen that before. It's a great feature. Overall, the controls are very good. I do have a few suggestions to make it even more comfortable and intuitive, but mostly it scores a solidly high score from me. The key thing I would like changed is the ability to close or exit any menu screen by simply right-clicking on the mouse. It already works on the menu where you select which mode you want to be in, and it makes sense and would just make the whole process even better if you could just use this approach on all menu screens, instead of having to press escape. I would also prefer it if you automatically stood up when you press the sprint button. It already works when you hit the jump button, but it just makes more sense to me that if you're going to get up and sprint from the front wheel to the back wheel, then it should just automatically allow you to stand up and get there quicker. Now, you cannot change any of the keybinds at all at the moment, but honestly, I don't think you're going to need to. Everything is logically placed and easy to operate. You will start with a single tool slot, and this can be upgraded at a cost of about 1,000 XP points or something, and that just makes the game a little more streamlined. Then you can switch between the different tools by pressing 1, 2 or 3. Honestly, I'm not sure you even need to do that. I think the game, if you're going to open something that requires the square spanner and you've got it in your inventory, then just open it. I don't think you really need to swap between the tools. Perhaps if the tools appeared on screen, which at the moment they don't, it would make sense, but as they don't, I don't understand why we even need to do that, to be totally honest with you. Now, interestingly, the tyre pressure gauge is not considered to be a tool. Now, this might be a bug, I'm not entirely sure, but you can have that in your hand whilst having all of your tool inventory items full already. So like I say, that might be a bug, but I'm not entirely sure on that one. So basically there is a single player career mode, although it isn't really a career so much as just a job, where earning XP will unlock better tools and more complicated and interesting jobs. There is also a limited but adequate tutorial and a free mode. Now the free mode basically allows you to have everything unlocked and available to you, so you can strip down an entire bus if you want. But it does beg the question whether or not you should have a temporary parts storage area, as your personal inventory can get full pretty quickly. Now, like everything else, you can unlock more space by spending XP. Now, whilst I don't have an official price for Bus Mechanic Simulator right now, based on what I have experienced, my previous knowledge of games made and sold by Aerosoft, and my rather uncanny ability to accurately guess the price of games, I think this is going to be priced at approximately £30. And at that price, I think it's quite a fair price. Anything less than that is definitely a good deal. Anything lower than £20 is an absolute steal. But anything much higher than £30, this game is only really going to be considered a good deal if you yourself are passionate about buses, mechanics, or hardcore sims. So whilst we're discussing price, let's also discuss how you can win a copy of this amazing game. Very simple. All you need to do is hit the like button and leave me a unique comment on this video. You can leave as many unique comments as you like, but they must be each completely unique, so no spamming, please. Then on release day, I will pick at random somebody from that list and announce it here on the channel. So that's pretty simple, right? No problems there. So I think this game would really benefit from having a financial and economic feature introduced. Owning the business and expanding it over time would be simply excellent. Something along the lines of how Car Mechanic does it. But I've got to say, this is way more simulated than Car Mechanic currently is. I think that and or the ability to have multiplayer would be incredible. Just imagine you and a couple of mates working on different buses at the same time, having a laugh and a chat at the same time, you know, the banter. Yeah, that really would make this authentic. Obviously, having more buses would be great. At the moment, there are only 3 available. This is something that could come as part of DLC, but we'll just have to wait and see on that, I guess. Obviously, there's the ability to drive the buses in and out of the garage, maybe even take them to a test track, perhaps expand to actually be able to drive bus routes and have a proper bus simulator business. But I don't think that's going to happen here. We'll have to wait for the release of The Bus for something like that, I think. Now, my own experiences of working in garages does make me aware that the way we have to put bolts back on the wheels and tighten them up is not fully authentic. In the real world, you are taught to tighten opposite bolts and not fully either. Now, this would require you to be able to put more than one bolt on a wheel at a time, but that really is being picky. However, I would still love to see that implemented. I just think it would be even more realistic than it already currently is. So the suggestion I mentioned earlier about the DJ in the game, I think having him really makes the day or the work go by a little bit easier. But what would be really great is if the game allowed you to play your own music and simply injected the DJ chat in between your own songs. I've got to say though, there does need to be a lot more DJ chat, at least twice as much as there is at the moment, because it gets repetitive quite quickly. But then you would have the awesome DJ experience, but with your own choice of music. That would be absolutely fantastic. I do hope they watch this video, and I hope they add that to the game. I think that would make a fantastic addition to an already brilliant game. So I'm going to give my verdict now on the game, and this basically translates as being a bonus score at the end, because everything that I commented on so far gets a score, and then there's the possibility for extra points at the end. You know, if there's a few issues with the game but I really like it, I can give it an extra 10 points. So theoretically the game could score 110 points, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I have to say that I am massively impressed with Bus Mechanics Simulator. I wasn't sure whether it was going to be as good as I wanted it to be, but it's very close to being exactly what I wanted it to be. This game puts a big fat cheesy smile on my face, and I love how realistic everything is. It is such a great attempt at making a real life mechanics simulation. It is genuinely almost good enough to be a study aid for bus mechanics in the real world. In fact, I think with just a few little tweaks, it very well could be. So guys, thank you so much for watching I Am Sim UK. Do not forget to leave comments on this video, hit the like button for your chance to win a copy of this game, and definitely add this to your wish list. It's really, really good. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Until next time, goodbye.